Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakti Sadma Bando Mohe Sabadana Mate Bando Mohe Sabadana Mate Jara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Jara Prasade Bhai E Bhavatoriya Jai Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Krishna Prapti Hoya Hoite Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Guru Mukha Padma Vakya Chitete Koriya Aikya Arana Koriyo Mane Asha Arana Koriyo Mane Asha Sri Guru Charanarati Aise Uttama Gati Shri Guru Charanarati Aise Uttama Gati I think it's too far. Not Ye prasade pure sarva asha Ye prasade pure sarvasha. Chakudan diloje janme janme Prabhu se. Chakudan diloje janme janme Prabhu se. Divya gyan hridaya prakashito. Divya gyan hridaya prakashito. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinasha jate. Prema bhakti yaha hoite avidya vinasha jate. Vedagaya haracharito. Vedagaya haracharito. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokanath Lokarajivana. Lokanath Lokarajivana. Ha Prabhu Korodaya Deho More Padachaya. Ha Prabhu Korodaya Deho More Padachaya. Ebegat Kushokrebovana. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Srila Prabhupada Patita Pavana. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
I can't read. You can sing with all this for now.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare.
You can put it down while you're singing.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya, Astoro Shishimata's Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Pravijayacharya, Astoro Shishimata's Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki. Anandikoti Vaishnava Vrind ki. Naam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrind ki. Sri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shyam Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki. Vrindavan Navadvip Dham ki. Gangamaya Jamunamaya ki. Bhakti Devi Tulasi Devi Samaveta Bhakta Vrind ki. Nitai Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to the assembled devotee. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki.
Shri Nishinga Jai Nishinga Jai Jai Nishinga. Praladesha Jaya Padma Mukha Padma Bringa. Ugram Vidam Mahavishnu Jwalantam Sarvatomukam. Nishimam Vishnam Badram Mrityo Mrityam Namamyaham. Namaste Narasringhaya. Namaste Narasringhaya. Pralada Lada Dayene Hiranyakashipu Vakshaha Shilatankanakalaye Ito Nishingha Parato Nishimha Ito Nishingha Parato Nishimha Yato Yato Yami Tato Nishimha Bahi Nishimha Hridaye Nishimha Bahi Nishimha Hridaye Nishimha Bahi Nishimha Hridaye Nishimha Nashinghamadim Sharanam Prapade Narashinghamadim Sharanam Prapade Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adbhuta Shringa Dolita Hiranyakashipu Tanubringam Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jaya Nishringadev, 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 Jaya Nishringadev, Shivo! Jaya Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, Jaya Prahlad Maharaj. Bhakti Vigna Vinashaka Nishingade Bhagavan ki, Bhakta Shrestha Prahlad Maharaj ki, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bo. Krishna, Hare Krishna. Welcome to the Sunday Love Feast program. In particular, I'd like to welcome two new friends, Quinn and Johanna. All right. So, are there anybody else who's new? Is there anybody else coming for the first time? All right, so please, everybody, feel welcomed and take care of our guests. All right. So, I want to remind everybody about the protocol. Although we might become complacent with the low numbers in COVID, still we want to be cautious, and we're asking you all to please keep your masks on, keep your social distancing, be aware of the sanitizing, etc. You know the routine now, so please keep that in mind. Prasadam will be served at the tent when you go down the ramp to your left. There's a white tent, and it's a takeaway or a sit down. You can decide. So we've reintroduced that by the mercy of the devotees of the temple, and I see you're excited about that because it was a very wonderful atmosphere when we were taking prasad down there. The booking system for temple programs, Sunday Love Feast, will now be done away with. Haribol. Except for festivals. Any other special occasion that might arise, then there will be some booking for that because we have limits to what the temple can accommodate. And now it's my honor and privilege to welcome to the seat of honor, the Vyasa-san, His Grace Swarup Damodar Prabhu. So Swarup Damodar Prabhu is been our temple president for a while, and then involved in the National Council, that is the overseeing body of ISKCON in South Africa, in various roles, and thinking he might escape the presidency, he was called back to, and now he's our co-president with Ram Vijay Prabhu, and he's involved in many seminars, development of seminars and presentations of them, involved with the youth, and he's also embarked on a care program, because during COVID many people were isolated, but Swarup Damodar took it upon himself to phone and visit and encourage people. So that's really, really a wonderful service. And of course, he's a wonderful servant and secretary of his own spiritual master, His Holiness Giriraj Swami. So today our topic is celebrating our Vaishnav giants, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura. So Swarup Damodar Prabhu, we'll ask you to please also just give us a little background for our guests about this lineage. And over to you. Let's give him a nice round of applause. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Am I audible? Is it okay? So we'll commence the program with a little kirtan, and then we are very fortunate to be gathered here this morning to discuss the glories, the amazing qualities and attributes of one of our most illustrious spiritual teachers in the line of spiritual masters and disciples coming from Lord Krishna all the way down to the current day Krishna consciousness movement, that being His Divine Grace Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur Prabhupada, the revered spiritual master of our Srila Prabhupada, the founder of the Hare Krishna movement, the founder Acharya of the Hare Krishna movement. So we'll chant a little bit and then discuss the glories of this great personality. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodhanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jayom Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Astottara Sata Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada Ki ISKCON Samstapakacharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shamakun Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana Ki Shri Vrindavan Dham Ki Mayapur Navadvip Dham Ki Ganga Mai Ki Yamuna Mai Ki Bhakti Devi Ki Tulsi Maharani Ki Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Shtapitam Jaina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna. Tomorrow is the most celebrated, blessed event of the appearance anniversary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. As I mentioned earlier, one of the most illustrious links, spiritual links in the line of students and teachers coming from Krishna. Krishna imparts knowledge, spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge, for the benefit and upliftment of conditioned souls that are loitering in this material world, suffering the threefold miseries in so many ways, being afflicted in so many ways, searching after the meaning of life. And they find meanings in so many distorted ways based on the gratification of the senses, the emotions and the mind. And in that way they are constantly deluded, constantly deviated from true understanding of what the purpose of human life is. So Krishna, out of his infinite mercy and grace upon all his parts and parcels, all of us, the conditioned souls, he comes himself and he speaks the teachings of Bhagavad Gita, the science of spiritual life, to a qualified listener, a qualified student, and that qualified student in turn speaks the same message in an unadulterated, unchanged way, uninterpreted way to another student, who then teaches to another student. In this way, coming directly from God himself, the Supreme Lord himself, in an unbroken chain, the message of God, the message of Krishna comes down intact in its pristine, pure condition through the chain of spiritual master and disciples, the disciplic succession, all the way down to where we are now. In our case, invigorating this very important chain of spiritual teachers and students coming all the way from Krishna is the founder, spiritual master of the Hare Krishna movement, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada, whose deity form we worship daily, we meditate on daily, seated at the back of the temple room. And today we are recounting the glories in preparation of the anniversary of his appearance, we are recounting the glories of Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, whom Srila Prabhupada in many, many instances attributed all credit for whatever success he experienced, he accrued in the form of the Hare Krishna movement, in the form of spreading the holy names of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra all over the world, for spreading the message of Lord Chaitanya all over the world. So Srila Prabhupada attributed all the success to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So naturally, in the mood of pleasing Srila Prabhupada, pleasing our founder Acharya, we will recount the glories and different important aspects in the life of this great personality, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. To begin with, I thought to read... What did I think to read? I thought to read and read the text and the translation to the pranati, the prayers of praise and glorification of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, that were composed by one of his very leading disciples, Ananta Vasudev Prabhu, during the time of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur's presence. If you know it or can follow, please join in. And after each pranati, I will read the translation. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati iti Namine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayitaya Kripabdhaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayine Prabhave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayita Das, who is favored by Srimati Radharani, and who is the ocean of transcendental mercy and the deliverer of the science of Krishna. Madhur Yujjvala Premadhya Shri Rupanuga Bhaktida Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya's mercy, who delivers devotional service which is enriched with conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of revelation of Srila Rupa Goswami. And lastly, Namaste Gauravani Shri Murtaye Dinatarine Rupa Nuga Viruddha Apasiddhanta Dvanta Harine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls. You do not tolerate any statement which is against the teachings of devotional service, enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki. Also this year, 2022, you may, if you follow histories and you're into anniversaries, is the 100th anniversary of the meeting of Srila Prabhupada and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And if you know about that meeting, if we have time, we'll recount that meeting. It's also the day, or that year, that same meeting, that Srila Prabhupada got the instruction to preach in the West. So we are very grateful for that instruction, because of that instruction, all this has manifested in some way or the other. So 100 years, sometime later this year, 2022. This happened in 1922 in Ultadanga, Calcutta. And incidentally, I just saw a little trailer video preceding the wonderful opening that's going to be happening of a new temple or a refurbished temple at that site. All right, so let's begin to recount some of the life history of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, the glorious life history. Of course, that history or that manifestation, advent of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, is actually the unfolding of a great plan of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Of course, from even before Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's advent, we find a development of Vedic understanding, the unfolding of understanding the Supreme Absolute Truth in different ways by different teachers, coming from just before the Supreme Lord advented himself as Lord Buddha in a quest to stop all the wanton killing of animals in the name of Vedic teachings, just wantonly killing in a very cruel way. Lord Buddha, he rejected all the Vedic scriptures to try and stop that. It was purposeful, it was engineered in a certain way that he advented. And then later, we find the great Vaishnavacharyas, like Ramanujacharya, like Shankaracharya, who came, and in order to re-establish the Vedic teachings, the Vedic scriptures, he had to then preach in a very indirect way about the position of the Supreme Lord, teaching impersonalism. And thereafter followed Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, Nimbarka Swami, Vishnu Swami, and so on, that slowly then re-established gradually the actual position, the actual personality of the Supreme Person. And finally, it culminated in the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who taught that the Supreme Lord and the living entity are simultaneously one and different from each other. And in so many, and similarly, in so many ways, expounded in a very comprehensive way the full extent of the Vedic teachings, and then bringing the essence of that teachings in the form of the Yuga Dharma, which is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who we accept by the declarations of the Vedic scriptures to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he left a very powerful mission upon his departure in early 15th, 16th century. But unfortunately, some years after the departure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even that mission fell into some disrepute. So much so that a few hundred years after the departure of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the word Vaishnava became known as a synonym for somebody who was very sentimental, foolish, It didn't really have the meaning that it held at the time of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Vaishnava means a devotee of God, specifically of Krishna, Lord Vishnu. It became very watered down. Even more so, the word Vaishnavi means a female devotee of Krishna, in our understanding, was almost likened to the term prostitute. That's how degraded a reputation had developed. And this had further degraded all the way up until the time of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, one of the most illustrious figures in the line coming from Lord Chaitanya. Very, very amazing personality who had a very, very broad vision of taking the teachings of Lord Chaitanya and making them accessible to the entire planet, not just within India, not just for Hindus. And so Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he could see the difficulty, and it pained his heart to see the state, the sorry state of the Gaudiya Vaishnava tradition. And he vowed to correct it and to do away with all the deviant representations, all the sentimental representations of Gaudiya Vaishnava culture. And he began very aggressively re-establishing the pristine condition, the pristine teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. But still, he was very anxious that upon his passing, who would then take up this work and stem that tide of Kali from contaminating Lord Chaitanya's teachings or covering Lord Chaitanya's teachings. This was his great, great anxiety. And so he began to pray very ardently to the Lord, to Krishna, to please send one of his own associates, one of his very close, intimate, personal associates to this planet to take up this work. And so shortly after that, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was born as one of the sons of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur prayed, in English we call it, prayed for a ray of Vishnu to manifest. And by many accounts, even objective accounts from different historians, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta his appearance was in answer to the prayers of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. There are many incidents from that very early appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that can indicate his divinity. For instance, we read that when he was born, as he came out of the womb of his mother Bhagavati, the umbilical cord that's connected to him and the mother was tightly wrapped around his shoulder, from his left shoulder down, around his right hip, back around again. Something like a Brahman thread that men wear. Very strange, very rare. I've never heard of another child ever since then being born like that, unless somebody did it. So they can pronounce, yes, my son is like this, or my daughter is like this. No. Then when he was just a few months, 5 months old, while they were living in Jagannath Puri, during the time of the Jagannath Ratha Yatra, July time, there was the famous chariot festival in Jagannath Puri, and for some reason, transcendental reason, the chariot stopped outside the home of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who was a very prominent personality in Jagannath Puri. He was like the Padichi, the superintendent, so to speak, of the Jagannath temple. So it's very important, but for some reason they couldn't get the chariot to move. I think they couldn't get it to move for like 3 days. It was stuck there. Imagine we have Jagannath Ratha Yatra and our chariot gets stuck. We'll have serious problems. But they had no issue. The devotees would come the next day morning, try to push, no problem, have kirtan the whole day, come back the next day, try to push, no problem. So the chariot was stuck there. And because he was so important and so respected, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, being so respected, his wife took the opportunity to have the first grain ceremony to be performed with the darshan of Lord Jagannath. So she took the child on top of the chariot. I don't think any of us can do that because we are whatever we are. But she was able to take the child on top. And as she presented the child at the feet of Jagannath, a garland just fell at the same time and draped itself all around the child, giving the Lord's blessings to this very blessed child. It was like a confirmation of his divine status. Then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he grew up and there were many very amazing, prodigious events in his life. When he was 7 years old, it's described, he memorized the entire 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. Not just in parrot fashion, because children are very good at memorizing. They have an amazing ability for repetition, hear and repeat. That's why parents are very concerned about what they speak, and because children are very easy to repeat what they hear from the parents. But this child at the age of 7 was not only able to memorize all 700 verses, he could speak purports to each of the verses. This was how amazingly spiritually intelligent he was. Also, when he was just some years old, maybe a toddler, he mistakenly ate a mango that was on a table to be offered to the Lord. If we see a 4-year-old child eating a mango, what's the big deal? Oh, it's okay. But his father very gently admonished him, no, what have you done? You have ate something that's meant to be offered to Krishna. And that child took it so deeply in his heart, that day at the age of 4 or 5, he took a lifelong vow never to eat mangoes. Now, devotees, if you have ever been to India in April, May or so, when you hear of a vow like this, oh, not a practical vow. They have over 200 varieties of mangoes in India that make all our mangoes look salty. It's so amazing. It's so amazing. But this child, a few-year-old child, took the vow. And later on in life, when he was an acharya, great devotee, great leader, whenever he was offered mangoes, he would refuse by saying, "No, I am an offender. I cannot eat this." He carried that vow. Such was his deep conviction as a servant of Krishna. As a servant of Krishna. Later on, as a youth, he was quite excellent in school and university, especially in the field of astronomy, where he wrote a commentary on Surya Siddhanta, a great work, a thesis on astronomy, according to the Vedic understanding. And because of his amazing commentary on that book, he was then given the title Siddhanta Sarasvati. Siddhanta Sarasvati. In honor of his great scholarship in astronomy, he was given this great title. Later on, or actually just before that, his father, understanding this boy's great potential, his name, I should have said, his name at birth was Bimala Prasad Datta. Datta was his surname. The father's name was Kedarnath Datta, also Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he got the name Bimala Prasad Datta. Bimala is a deity of Durga Devi that's established in the Jagannath Puri temple compound. And every day all the offerings that are offered to Jagannath, Lord Jagannath comes out to her. So she has first right to honor. So that Prasad is then called Bimala Prasad. So he was called Bimala Prasad Das. That was his birth name. So later on, in his early teens, his father, recognizing his potential, gave him initiation into the chanting of the holy names of Krishna, and also initiated him into certain mantras, and initiated him into the worship of the deity. But as tradition goes, the father cannot give full diksha, full initiation to the son. So then Bhaktivinoda Thakur then guided Srila Bhaktisiddhanta to approach one of the greatest saints at that time, one of the greatest devotees of that time, devotees of Lord Chaitanya of that time, being Srila Gaura Kishore Das Babaji, a very, very highly renounced personality, completely imbued with love for Lord Chaitanya and Radha and Krishna. So he told his son, Bimala Prasad, to approach him for initiation. And don't come back without him accepting you. That was the instruction. Gaurkishore, we may have heard, was an illiterate devotee. He didn't know how to read or write. He had no formal education. And here was a very highly educated, highly literate person coming to take initiation from this seemingly illiterate person. Quite amazing. So this also shows that bhakti cannot be known by one's material scholarship or one's material reputation. No, bhakti cannot be measured in that way. Sometimes even as devotees we may get moved by external considerations of material position, material abilities, material age, young or old, or different circumstances, and apply a consideration that this person is advanced and that person's not advanced. But here we see in the example of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Bimala Prasad, that wasn't a consideration at all. The most learned person materially is approaching an illiterate person to surrender to. Quite amazing. So when Bimala Prasad Siddhanta Saraswati approached Gaurakishore Das Babaji, Gaurakishore told him that he made a rule in his life that he will not accept any disciples. But still, Bimala Prasad Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur pleaded and pleaded and pleaded. He persisted. And then Gaurakishore said, okay, I think I'll discuss this with Lord Chaitanya. You come back. I'll discuss this with Lord Chaitanya. So a couple of days later, Bimala Prasad returned and asked him, so what was Lord Chaitanya's order? And Gaurikishore said, oh, I forgot to ask him. Can come back. So he came back a few days later, third time, and he said, Mahaprabhu has not given permission for me to do this. I'm sorry. At that time, Bimala Prasad was crestfallen, devastated, and internally vowed to take his own life if he couldn't get the shelter of this great Mahatma, Gaurikishore Das Babaji. And then he chanted one beautiful verse written by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Karuna na hoye, kandiya kandiya, prana narakibo ar. That if I do not receive your mercy, what can I do? All I can do is cry and then give up my life air. Prana narakibo ara. So having said that, and in the mood in which he said it, Gaurikishore felt very, very kind, very, very moved, and then immediately arranged for his initiation and awarded him the name. Anybody knows the name that he was given? We chanted it just now. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi Dayitaya Das. That was the name that was given to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. That was his brahmachari name. Meaning the servant of Srimati Radharani, who is most merciful. Most merciful. Later on, some years later, after initiation, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur undertook a very powerful vow, and that vow was to chant 1 billion names of Krishna. 1 billion names. And he wanted to do it within a very short space of time, like within 10 years. Which meant, if you do the math, you'd have to chant around 300,000 names daily. Anyone else anyone remember who else was chanting 300,000 names of the Lord daily? Haridas Thakur, which means about 192 rounds. And we get bent out of shape with 16 rounds sometimes. So he took a vow to chant 300,000 names daily, or 10 million names monthly, something like that. So he did it. He did it. He did it all. And it's not like that was his only thing he did. He lived in this hut that he built that was sometimes leaking, and he would have an umbrella sometimes when it rained just to not get disturbed. But he preached, he wrote, and he did all sorts of seva. The chanting took him about 16 or 17 hours a day, and the rest of the day he would do other services. And this took him about 9 or 10 years, in which just under 10 years, this was his program. In preparation for what he knew was the divine order that was given to him by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur to preach the message of Lord Chaitanya in a pure, pristine, unadulterated way, and to hold back all the negative influences of Kali that were trying to corrupt the teachings of Lord Chaitanya. So this is what he did, and he became very, very empowered. Another significant event in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's life that really established him as the leader of the Gaudiya Vaishnavas at that time, and in some ways instilled fear in the hearts of all the deviant sects that were prevalent in India at that time, was a debate that he entered into, that he attended, that was trying to understand and clarify the relative positions between the Brahmanas, the caste Brahmanas, who at that time in India had the monopoly over all ritualistic observances, all Brahmanical duties. They were asserting that unless you are born a Brahman, you cannot read the Vedas, you cannot perform Brahmanical activities, you cannot worship the deity. This is only reserved for those born in Brahman families. But Bhaktivinoda Thakur himself was an avowed opponent against this misleading principle. Coming from Srila Sanatana Goswami, who taught us that that when bell metal is mixed up with certain other chemicals like mercury and other things, it can turn into something valuable, can turn into gold. It can happen. Likewise, anyone, no matter what situation they're born in, even if you're born in South Africa, by being touched by the holy names of Krishna, by the process of devotional service, one automatically becomes a Brahmana, and thus eligible to perform all the Brahmanical activities. So there was this great contestation, because the caste Brahmanas knew that if they allowed this type of philosophy to prevail, all their business will be lost. Because being a Brahman is very good business. Do this samskara, wedding, this sacrifice, this puja, this katha, this is my stipulated price. You make a wonderful living. But we can't have too many people doing it. It has to be reserved to a select few. Select few. We don't have that problem in South Africa, do we? Actually, we don't, because of Srila Prabhupada. He's just opened the door for anyone to become properly qualified through initiation from a bona fide representative of Lord Chaitanya. So we attended this debate. Actually, Bhaktivinoda Thakur was meant to attend the debate, but he was severely afflicted with rheumatoid arthritis, and he couldn't. So in his stead, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta went. And when all the Brahmanas, caste Brahmanas, knew that Bhaktivinoda Thakur wasn't coming, they had like a bit of a proud swagger about them, that, we are going to show these sentimental Vaishnavas who is actually the best, and we'll maintain our position, we'll crush them to dirt. Anyway, the first speaker was Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. And he started off reciting, without looking at any scripture, dozens and dozens of passages and verses from the Vedas, glorifying the position of the Brahmanas, how exalted they are, how glorious they are, how worshipable they are. And in that way, the pride in all the Brahmanas was swelling and swelling, and they were thinking, they have come to their senses. They are finally conceding. Then when he raised them to that level of pride, suddenly he started quoting verses from the same Shastras, glorifying the position of the Vaishnavas as being supreme, superior to the Brahmanas, that if one is a Vaishnava, one automatically is considered a Brahmana, and much, much more. And he quoted so many verses with such dexterity and authority that they couldn't say anything. And it's described by the historians, those caste Brahmanas, they just slinkered away quietly. Very, very embarrassed. So after that very historic meeting, the entire Gaudiya Vaishnava culture in India recognized him as being their leader. Their being their leader. That leader in Lord Chaitanya's cult, who is purely representing his teachings like that. An interesting thing comes up in this situation, that one may wonder that Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he prayed, right, for a ray of Vishnu to come. So Krishna could have thought, sometimes we think, Krishna, why didn't you do something? You could have done it better. Why did you do it this way? Of course, Krishna, his arrangements are perfect because Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He is perfect, completely perfect. One could have thought, why didn't he arrange for Bhaktisiddhanta to be born in a Brahmana family? It would have been so much easier. He would have been so much more accepted. It made sense that way. Put him in a Brahmana family instead of putting him in a non-Brahmana family, being born from Bhagavati and Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So Krishna could have done that. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he explains this principle of why Krishna does like this, why he puts his devotees in seemingly material, from a material perspective wise, putting them in a lesser situation, in a less opulent situation. He explains that the Lord does not arrange, He specifically does not arrange, generally speaking, for pure devotees to take birth only in high-class families. He does this with all the advantages of good health, education, culture, wealth, and so on. Because ordinary people then would feel discouraged. Like, what hope is there for me then? So he arranges for his great devotees, like even Srila Prabhupada wasn't born in a Brahmin family. He was born in a Vaishya family. According to, if you look at higher and lower, not as high as the Brahmana. But when it comes to spiritual culture, it has no bearing. Because ordinary people like us can see, yes, born in a so-called ordinary family, but completely successful in devotional service. So we can take inspiration. It gives us an example to follow. Another very important principle that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura taught, we'll end off with this point here because we're almost out of time, is the principle of yukta vairagya, practical renunciation. Anasaktasya vishayan yatarham upayunjitaha. Nirbandha Krishna sambandha yuktam vairagyam sa uchyate. That we find so many things around us, so many facilities, so many abilities, so many material acquisitions that we can get. But because they are material, someone may think, I cannot use this in Krishna's service. I should be very simple, I should be very austere, I should negate everything, not accept anything. Because if I do accept something that's material, I will be contaminated. But this verse that Srila Rupa Goswami teaches, anasaktasya vishayan yataram upayunjit, that when one is properly situated above the mood of possessiveness, that this is mine, this microphone is mine, or this computer is mine, or this money in my wallet is mine, or that car is mine. If one is situated above that consideration, understanding that all these things belong to Krishna and therefore must be used in Krishna's service, then that person is properly renounced. He has the ability, with proper understanding, to accept all these things, but use it in Krishna's service, not in his sense gratification needs. So this is a principle that Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura taught and exemplified in his life. Before him, everyone wore very tattered clothes, unkempt, not even taking any conveyances like a vehicle or anything. But Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura, although he was very austere personally, if you read about the descriptions of his activities in a personal way, eating and sleeping and so on, very, very austere. He was ready to spend any amount of money to acquire facility to be used in Krishna's service. Any amount. He, at that time, was riding around in very opulent cars to go for preaching. He was using printing presses. He was spending money on opulent temple, like the Bagh Bazaar temple in Calcutta at that time was an amazing structure. Very, very beautiful. He would wear opulent clothes just so that the high-class people in the world wouldn't just, reject him as being a sentimentalist, that they will take him seriously so that they would then be open to hearing his message of Lord Chaitanya. So like this, he was very, very practical, yet very detached. He was above the concept of feeling possessive over anything. He was completely renounced. And we find in our Srila Prabhupada had the same mood. Had the same mood. Whatever he could acquire, he used it in the service of Krishna. He didn't reject anything. Like Srila Prabhupada would say sometimes the Mayavadi sannyasis, when someone offers them money, they will go, no, 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 I can't touch it. He says, but when they offer me money, I will take one hand, I will accept it, I'll put out the other hand and ask for more. All to be engaged in Krishna's service. All to be engaged in Krishna's service. This was his mood. This was his mood. So like this, there are so many. I just touched on a fraction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur's glories. Over the course of tomorrow, a few classes will be there by various devotees, Srila Bhakti Chaitanya Swami included. So please try to tune in to the classes or go online and hear some classes about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, a most glorious personality. The more you read about him, I found for myself, the more awestruck I become. It's amazing. What an intelligent, uncompromising, forward-thinking person he was. I mean, if he were here today thinking of our strategic plans that we have sometimes in the Krishna consciousness movement, if Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur were here today, he would be 60 years ahead of us in his thinking. We would be archaic. Such amazing forward-thinking vision he had. Was really something. Really something. I just want to mention something about Srila Prabhupada's relationship with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And it's something Srila Prabhupada mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and just 2 or 3 lines in the Madhya Leela, first chapter. Srila Prabhupada is known to be that one person who fully understood and captured the mood of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and thereby was so successful, by the blessings of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, so successful to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And Srila Prabhupada, in a very humble way, presents it in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So, he comments on a chapter 1, verse 71 in the Madhya Leela. Translation of the verse is, having shown the verse to Swarup Damodar with great wonder, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him how Rupa Goswami could understand the intentions of his mind. So Lord Chaitanya had a very deep meditation. And Rupa Goswami, we chant that prayer every day in class. What's that verse? Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam. He has understood the mind of Lord Chaitanya. So here, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that having shown the verse to Swarup Damodar Goswami with great wonder, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself is wondering now. He's asking Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami, how is it that Rupa Goswami could understand my mind, could understand my intentions? And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes something very wonderful. Quote, we had the opportunity to receive a similar blessing from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami when we presented an essay at his birthday ceremony, a Vyasa Puja offering. He was so pleased with that essay that he used to call some of his confidential devotees and show it to them. How could we have understood the intentions of Srila Prabhupada, meaning Srila Bhaktisiddhanta? And then further, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, Srila Swarup Damodar Goswami replied to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if Rupa Goswami can understand your mind and intentions, he must have your Lordship's special benediction. So if Srila Prabhupada understood Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, where did it come from? From Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's special arrangement and mercy. And then finally, Lord Chaitanya says, I was so pleased with Rupa Goswami that I embraced him and bestowed upon him all necessary potencies for preaching the bhakti cult. So we find the same principle with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Once Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was standing with some disciples in the Bombay Gaudiya Math, and Srila Prabhupada had helped a lot there to establish it. And those devotees had suggested to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, we should make Abhay Babu, our Srila Prabhupada, the president of the Math. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, no, do not disturb him. In time, he will do everything. So, in a similar way that Rupa Goswami was empowered by Lord Chaitanya, we find that Srila Prabhupada was specifically and uniquely blessed and empowered by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So we'll stop here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Just a couple announcements, devotees. So, tomorrow we are having the celebration in honor of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakura.